My mom abandoned me for a new family, refused to raise me, then demanded a place at my wedding, so I exposed her lies and defended my real dad publicly. So I guess I should start by saying I have never really had a normal relationship with my mom. Actually calling her my mom feels weird because, to be honest, she was more like a stranger than a parent. She took off when I was just a baby. I was too young to even remember her leaving. But what I do remember is how my dad, Mark, picked up all the pieces and did everything he could to raise me alone. He was my real dad. Period. Always was. Now, do not get me wrong. I was not completely cut off from my mom, Sarah. I would see her every now and then, but it was like a random acquaintance showing up in your life once in a blue moon and pretending like they care. The court gave her visitation every other weekend, but she rarely, if ever, actually followed through. I remember times when I was a little kid, sitting by the window waiting, thinking maybe she would show up this time. But nope, she would either bail or drop me off early because she had other plans. The thing that really bugs me is she did not even try. Not at all. She would quit jobs just to avoid paying child support. My dad busted his ass, working long hours while she was out there doing God knows what. Twice she even ended up in jail because she did not pay what she owed. Can you imagine? Jail for not wanting to take care of your own kid. I heard about it through the grapevine because she did not tell me directly. I found out from my uncle. It is messed up, right? Anyway, when I was about 6, Sarah met this guy, Phil. He was older than her, maybe by a decade. And from what I could gather, he thought he was some kind of hero for it, saving, or whatever that means. I was not really a part of their life. I saw them like 5 times from the age of 6 to 14. Yeah, just 5. And every time was the same, awkward, forced, and full of fake smiles. I hated it. They would try to act like we were some happy family, but all I could think was, who are you kidding? Phil, though, man, he was something else. He really tried to force himself into my life. I remember one time I was maybe around 10, and he showed up at one of my school's Father's Day activities. My dad was not able to make it that day, but I was not mad about it. He always made time for me in other ways, so missing one thing was not a big deal. But Phil, being Phil, saw this as his moment. He came up to me like he was some kind of replacement and said, "Hey, Jamie, I can step in if you want. I am here for you." I remember just staring at him, not knowing whether to laugh or scream. Like, dude, no, you are not my dad. You are not even close. I barely know you, and you have no right to act like you are stepping in for him. I was polite at the time, just said something like, "and I am fine," and walked away. But inside I was fuming. I did not even tell my dad about it because I did not want him to feel bad. The worst part, Phil would try to make it seem like I was the one missing out. He dropped these little comments like, "If only your dad had done more for you, maybe you would not feel so distant." Distant? I was close to my dad. He gave me a good life while Sarah did not give a crap. I finally had enough of his jabs and told him straight up, "Do not talk about my dad. He is better than Sarah will ever be, and he has done more for me than you can even imagine." He never tried that stepdad crap with me again. The only consistent thing about Sarah and Phil was their absence. They had their own family. They had 3 kids together, and I did not even know their names until much later. I was not invited to family gatherings, birthdays, or any of that stuff. It is like they just erased me from their lives as soon as they had their new family. Losing my dad when I was 14 was one of the hardest things I have ever gone through. I mean, it felt like my entire world fell apart overnight. One minute we were making dinner plans and talking about me starting high school, and the next he was just gone. A heart attack. Just like that. No warning, no nothing. I did not even get to say goodbye. I remember the day so clearly, the phone call, the panic, the moment when everything froze. My uncles, Pete and Rob, came over right away, but it was like I could not hear anything anyone was saying. Everything just became noise. I felt numb, like someone had just ripped my life in half, and I was left with the jagged edges. After the funeral, things moved fast. Faster than I was ready for, to be honest. The house where I grew up, the one my dad worked so hard to keep for us, had to be sold. I did not have much say in it. It was not like I had anywhere else to go. My uncles offered to take me in right away, which I will always be grateful for. They did not hesitate. Pete and Rob had always been more like older brothers to me than just uncles, so I knew I would be safe with them. Still, it felt like I was leaving behind everything I had left of my dad. Now, here is the part where my mom and Phil show up again. Surprise, surprise, right? It had been years since I had seen either of them. And all of a sudden, after my dad's death, they are acting like they care, like they are going to swoop in and be the heroes. Sarah did not even come to the funeral. Not because she was too devastated to show up. Nope, she did not have time. Can you believe that? No time to bury the man who took care of her kid when she could not be bothered. But Phil? Oh, he showed up. Of course he did. The funeral was over, and I was sitting with my uncles trying to process everything when Phil walked over to me. I remember looking up at him thinking, "What the hell do you want?" He had that stupid, fake, concerned look on his face, the kind where you know someone is just doing it for show. He sat down next to me and said, "You know, Jamie, you can always come live with Sarah and me. We have got room for you." I just stared at him, not knowing whether to laugh or scream. This guy, who I had seen maybe 5 times in my whole life, who was not even man enough to show up at the funeral with my mom, was offering me a place to live. No thanks, man. I was not about to leave my uncles, the only real family I had left, to go live with people who barely knew I existed. I told him no, that I was staying with Pete and Rob. And that was that. Or so I thought. Phil was not one to give up so easily, though. He went on this whole rant about how family is important, and how your mom and I really want to be there for you now. Now, where were they when I was a kid, huh? Where were they when I was sitting by the window waiting for Sarah to show up for her court-ordered weekends? Now they want to be parents. Too little, too late. I shut him down pretty hard after that. I told him I did not need their pity or their help, that my dad had raised me just fine without them, and I was not about to let them waltz into my life now just because it was convenient for them. Phil did not like that. His face got all red, and he started sputtering about how I was just a kid and did not understand how hard things had been for Sarah. Oh, please. I was not about to sit there and let him talk down to me like that. So I said, "Hard for her? My dad is the one who had to pick up the pieces after she ditched me. Do not even try to act like she is the victim here." He stormed off after that, but not before throwing in some passive-aggressive comment about how I would regret cutting them out of my life. Yeah, sure, like I was going to lose sleep over not having Sarah and Phil around. Please. After that, I packed up my stuff and moved in with Pete and Rob. They were amazing. Honestly, I was grieving, but they gave me space to process everything in my own time. They did not push me to move on or get over it. They let me be angry, sad, confused, whatever I needed to feel. They let me feel it, and that is something I will always be thankful for. The move itself was weird. Leaving my childhood home, the place where I had all these memories of my dad, was hard. Every room reminded me of him, whether it was the kitchen where we would cook together or the living room where we would watch movies every Friday night. It was not just a house to me. It was the only place I had ever felt truly safe. But it was gone now, just like my dad, and there was nothing I could do about it. The first night at Pete and Rob's place, I barely slept. I kept expecting my dad to walk in and tell me everything was going to be okay, but he was not there, and it was not okay. Not by a long shot. I tried to keep myself busy after that, throwing myself into school and anything else that would keep me from thinking too much. But no matter what I did, it always came back to that emptiness. The fact that my dad was not there and he never would be again. And you would think that after everything, Sarah and Phil would just leave me alone, right? Wrong. Phil called a few more times after I moved in with my uncles, trying to find a way to reconnect or whatever. He would say things like, "Jamie, I know you are hurting, but your mom and I want to help you through this." Yeah, because they have been so helpful up until now, right? One time he even had the audacity to say, "What? Your mom has changed, she is ready to be there for you now." Ready now that my dad was gone? Now that they did not have to worry about dealing with him? I told him flat out, I do not need her now. I needed her when I was a kid and she was not there. It is too late. After that, I stopped answering his calls. I did not want anything to do with either of them. They had their life, their perfect little family with their 3 kids, and I had mine with my uncles. I did not need Sarah or Phil pretending to care when it was clear they did not. And honestly, life with Pete and Rob was good. It was not perfect. Nothing could replace my dad, but it was stable. They supported me in ways that Sarah and Phil never could. They showed up for me. They were there. And that is all I ever really needed. By the time I was 27, I thought I had everything figured out when it came to my so-called family. I had gotten pretty good at keeping my distance from Sarah and Phil, only dealing with them when it was absolutely necessary. The rest of Sarah's side of the family, I did not have any real issues with them. I was not super close to them or anything, but they did not try to force the whole family thing on me like Sarah and Phil did. So I figured it was fine to stay in touch. They were still part of my life, just on the outskirts, you know. So when my grandparents on Sarah's side invited me to this family birthday party, I did not think twice about going. I was not expecting anything dramatic, just a regular family thing. Show up, say hi, eat some cake. make small talk, then dip out. Pretty standard. Matt, my fiancé, could not make it because he had work. So I figured I would just go alone, say my hellos, and get out. But of course, nothing is ever that simple with Sarah and Phil involved. When I got to the party, everything seemed normal at first. My grandparents were happy to see me, and I chatted with a few cousins and aunts. It was chill, nothing weird. I spotted Sarah and Phil across the room, but I did not go up to them. I did not see the point. They knew where I stood, and I was not about to make things awkward by pretending we were close. So I stuck to the people I was comfortable with, keeping my distance. But apparently, Phil had other plans. I was standing by the food table grabbing a slice of cake when I felt someone tap me on the shoulder. I turned around, and there he was, Phil, right there, with that same fake, overly friendly smile he always had. I internally sighed because I knew this was going to be annoying. "Oh, Jamie, good to see you," he said like we were old pals. I forced a small smile, mostly out of politeness, and said, "Hey, Phil." I did not want to be rude in front of everyone, but I was already mentally preparing myself for whatever crap he was about to start. He wasted no time getting to the point. "So I heard you are engaged. That is exciting news," he said, still with that fake smile. I nodded, trying to keep it short. "Yeah, thanks." I was hoping he would just leave it at that, but of course that is not how Phil operates. "And no, Sarah and I were kind of surprised we did not get an invite to the engagement party," he said, lowering his voice like he was trying to be all serious. "I mean, we are your family. I figured we would be included." I could feel my jaw clench, but I kept it together. I was not about to make a scene at a birthday party. "It was not a big party, just close family and friends," I said, trying to keep things as neutral as possible, but I could already see where this was going, and it was not going to be good. Phil did not back down. He never does. "Well, we are family, Jamie. Sarah and I have always considered you part of our family, and we were hurt not to be invited. We care about you, you know." That is when I felt my blood start to boil. Care about me? They had the nerve to say they cared. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice calm. "Phil, I think we both know why you were not invited. Let us not pretend like we are close." I could see the smile fading from his face. He was not expecting me to call him out, but I was not going to let him get away with playing the concerned parent card. He looked around like he was making sure no one was listening, then leaned in closer. "Oh, look, Jamie. I have always tried to be there for you, and I think it is time we move past whatever issues we have had. I know your mom was not perfect, but I have always considered you my daughter. I would like to walk you down the aisle if you will let me." I swear time stopped for a second when he said that. Walk me down the aisle? This guy, the man who was not even around when I needed someone, the audacity. I felt my hands start to shake, and I could not hold back anymore. "Are you kidding me right now?" I said, my voice louder than I intended. A few people nearby turned to look, but I did not care. "You always considered me your daughter, Phil. I barely know you. You think just because you married my mom, you are suddenly my dad? My dad is dead. He is the one who should be walking me down the aisle, but he cannot because he is gone. And you have no right to act like you are some kind of replacement." Phil's face turned red. He was not expecting me to lash out like that, but I was done holding back. "I am sorry you feel that way," he said, trying to sound calm, but I could tell he was pissed. "I have done my best to be a father figure to you, but you have never given me a chance. Your dad did not do everything right, you know. He kept you away from us, and I think that is why you are so angry." Oh, that was it. That was the last straw. "Do not you dare talk about my dad," I snapped, stepping closer to him. "He did everything for me while Sarah was too busy running away from her responsibilities. You have no idea what it was like for him, raising me alone while she bailed. And now you want to come in and act like you are better than him? Like you deserve to take his place? Get over yourself, Phil." The whole room had gone quiet by now. Everyone was staring, but I did not care. I was done pretending. Phil just stood there looking stunned, like he did not know what to say. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, and finally he muttered, "You are being disrespectful. You need to be more grateful for the people who care about you." That is when I lost it. "Grateful," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "Grateful for what? You were not there, Phil. Sarah was not there. None of you were there when needed someone. My dad was the only one who cared. And now you want me to be grateful to you? You are nothing to me, nothing." With that, I turned and walked out. I did not wait for him to respond. I did not care. I could hear whispers and feel the stares of everyone in the room, but it did not matter. I was done with the whole thing. Done with Phil. Done with Sarah. Done with pretending like they were anything more than strangers. Later that night, I got a text from one of my aunts saying I should not have made a scene, that I embarrassed Phil and Sarah in front of everyone. But honestly, I do not regret it. They wanted to play family, but they do not get to pick and choose when they are there for me. They had years to step up, and they did not. So no, I am not sorry, and I sure as hell do not need them at my wedding. Update 1, sent. After the whole showdown at the party, I thought that would be it. I figured I made my point loud and clear and they would back off, but nah, of course not. The text started rolling in that night, and I knew this was not over. Not by a long shot. First, it was my Aunt Carol. She is one of those peacekeepers, always trying to smooth things over, make everyone happy. She sent me this long message about how I should not have publicly humiliated Phil and Sarah at the party. "Oh, you know they are trying, Jamie," she wrote. "Phil has always seen you as his daughter. You did not have to embarrass him like that in front of everyone." I stared at the text for a solid minute, just shaking my head. Trying, really? They have had my whole life to try. I was not about to feel bad for standing up for myself after everything. So I shot back a reply. If they actually cared, they would not have waited until now to act like it. I am not playing nice just to make them feel better about the crap they put me through. I did not get a response from her after that. But then the real kicker came the next morning when I got a call from Sarah. I had not spoken to her directly, and honestly, I could not even remember the last time, maybe 1 year, probably more. I almost did not pick up, but I was curious what she had to say after everything. "Jamie, we need to talk," she started, her voice all stiff and formal, like she was about to give me a lecture. I sighed, already regretting answering the phone. "What do you want, Sarah?" "So I heard what happened at the party," she said, like she was not even there, "and I have to say I am really disappointed in you. You did not have to lash out at Phil like that. He has only ever tried to help." I could not help but laugh at that. Help? Are you serious right now? The only time Phil has ever tried to help is when it is convenient for him. He thinks just because he married you, he can waltz into my life and pretend to be my dad. He is not, and he never will be. And she went quiet for a second, and I could tell she did not like being called out. But then she did what she always does, shifted the blame. This attitude of yours is not going to get you anywhere. You cannot keep holding on to the past forever, Jamie. Your father is not here anymore. Phil and I are... I felt a surge of anger so strong I had to bite my tongue for a second before I said something I could not take back. But I was done playing nice. "Yeah, you are here now, Sarah. Where were you when I was a kid, when I actually needed you? Do not act like showing up now makes up for everything you did or did not do." She sighed, that kind of annoyed sigh she used to do when I was a kid, like I was being difficult for no reason. "I know I made mistakes, Jamie, but it was not easy for me either. I did the best I could." "And best you could?" I cut her off. "The best you could do was leave me with Dad and barely show up for your weekends? You did not even try. You were not there, Sarah. So do not stand there and tell me you did your best." There was another long pause, and I could hear her struggling to find something to say. Finally, she went with, "And I am your mother, Jamie. You do not get to talk to me like this." I could not help it. I laughed again, but this time it was not because it was funny. It was just ridiculous. "You are my mother? Really? You think that title means something just because you gave birth to me? You lost the right to that a long time ago. You were not a mother then, and you are not one now." That must have hit a nerve because her voice got all sharp and defensive. "Oh, and you need to stop living in the past. You are going to regret cutting us out of your life, Jamie. Phil has only ever wanted to help you, and you are throwing it back in his face." At that point I was done with the guilt trips, done with her excuses, done with her trying to make me the bad guy. "No, Sarah, the only thing I regret is wasting my time thinking you would ever care. Do not call me again." And with that, I hung up. I sat there for a few minutes, just staring at my phone, trying to process everything. Part of me was pissed. Pissed that she still did not get it. Pissed that she was trying to make me feel like the villain in this whole thing. But another part of me felt free, like a weight I had been carrying for years had finally been lifted. I did not owe them anything, not my time, not my forgiveness, nothing. But of course, it did not stop there. Later that day, my cousin Brianna called. She is closer to my age and we had always gotten along fine, so I figured maybe this call would be different, but nope. "Jamie, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" she started. It seemed genuine enough, so I let my guard down a little. "Yeah, I am fine. It is just they do not get it. They never will." Brianna sighed, and I could already tell where this was going. "I get that you are upset, but do not you think you were a little harsh? Phil has been trying, and Sarah, well, she is still your mom, you know." I groaned. "Not you too, Brianna. I do not want to hear it. They did not try. They did not show up for me when it mattered. And now they think they can just waltz back in and play family. It does not work like that.
And I know, she said, trying to sound understanding, and they are still family. Maybe you could just, I do not know, meet them halfway?
I could feel my patience wearing thin. And meet them halfway? How about they meet me halfway for once in their lives? I am done bending over backward to make them feel better about what they did. Brianna went quiet, and after a few awkward seconds, she just said, "Okay, I get it. I am sorry if I overstepped. I did not want to be mad at her. It was not her fault. But I was tired of everyone making excuses for Sarah and Phil. Tired of people acting like I was the one who needed to fix things when they were the ones who broke it." That night, I sat down with Matt and told him everything that had happened. He listened like he always does and just said, "You do not owe them anything, Jamie. You have done more than enough. It is okay to let go." And that is when I realized he was right. I did not need to keep carrying this weight anymore. I did not need their validation, their approval, or their version of family. I had my own life now, my own future to build with people who actually cared about me. So, I blocked Sarah and Phil's numbers. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could finally breathe. Update 2. I thought that after blocking Sarah and Phil, things would calm down, that I would get some peace, and they would finally get the hint. But of course, they did not. I should have known better. Instead, they took things up a notch. I was not answering their calls or texts, so Phil decided the next best thing was to show up at my apartment. Yeah, you read that right. The guy literally showed up at my front door unannounced, like we were close or something. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was just hanging out, trying to enjoy a quiet weekend. Matt was out running errands, and I was catching up on some stuff at home. I heard a knock at the door, and I was not expecting anyone, so I figured it was probably just a package or a neighbor. But when I opened the door, there was Phil standing there like he belonged. I stared at him speechless for a second. "So what are you doing here?" I finally asked, not even trying to hide the irritation in my voice. "I need to talk," he said, all serious, like this was some kind of intervention or something. "And you have been ignoring us, and that is not fair. We deserve a chance to explain ourselves." I crossed my arms, blocking the doorway. "I've heard all your excuses, Phil. There is nothing left to explain." He looked frustrated, like he could not believe I was not just letting him in. "Jamie, this has gone on long enough. Your mom and I want to fix this. We are your family, and you are shutting us out." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was just so typical of him. "Family? You do not get to show up now and act like you have been family all these years. Where were you when I was growing up? Where was Sarah? You cannot just ignore someone for half their life and then show up when it is convenient." Phil stepped forward, trying to inch his way into the apartment, but I was not budging. "We did not ignore you. Your dad." I cut him off, my voice sharp. "Do not you dare bring my dad into this. He was there for me every single day while Sarah bailed on me. You have got no right to speak about him." I could see his face getting red, and I knew I hit a nerve, but I did not care. I was done holding back. "I am just saying," he started, clearly trying to keep his cool. "Your dad did not make things easy for us. He never let us get close to you." I felt my blood boil at that. "Are you kidding me? My dad did not make things hard. Sarah did not even try, and just as bad, you showed up a handful of times and acted like you were doing me a favor. Do not stand here and pretend like you have been some kind of father figure to me. You were not there." Phil's face hardened, and I could see he was getting angry now. "Oh, you need to stop living in the past, Jamie. You are an adult now. You cannot keep blaming your mom and me for what happened years ago." "Trust me, I am not living in the past," I shot back. "But I am not about to pretend like you and Sarah have changed just because you are suddenly interested in playing happy families. You cannot rewrite history to make yourselves feel better." Phil let out a frustrated sigh and ran his hand through his hair. "We have been trying, Jamie. We've been trying to make things right, but you keep pushing us away. You are going to regret cutting us out like this." And there it was, the guilt trip. The same one Sarah tried to pull. It was like they had rehearsed this or something, but I was not falling for it. "Regret?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "What exactly am I supposed to regret? Cutting out the people who were not there when I needed them? Letting go of people who only show up when it suits them? No, Phil. The only thing I regret is letting you and Sarah back into my life at all." Yeah. He just stood there staring at me like I was some ungrateful kid who did not appreciate what he was offering. "Oh, you are making a mistake," he said, his voice low and cold. "And you are going to realize one day that you need us." I shook my head completely, done with this conversation. "No, Phil, I do not need you. I never did." And with that, I stepped back and slammed the door in his face. For a second, I just stood there, my heart pounding in my chest. I could not believe it had come to this, but at the same time, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt like I was finally free of all the guilt, all the pressure, all the fake family nonsense that Sarah and Phil had been trying to push on me. Of course, it did not end there. I heard him knock again, this time louder. "Jamie, open the door," he called through the door, his voice angrier now. "We are not done." But we were done. As far as I was concerned, we were more than done. I did not even bother responding. I just walked away from the door and sat down on the couch, turning up the television to drown out the sound of his knocking. After a few minutes, he finally gave up and left. Later that night, I got a message from Sarah. It was short and passive-aggressive, just like I expected. "I heard what you did. You will regret this." I did not even bother replying. I deleted the message and blocked her number again, this time for good. When Matt came home and I told him what happened, he just shook his head. "I cannot believe they still do not get it," he said. "You have been more than fair with them." Yeah, well, they are never going to get it," I said, "and I am done trying to make them understand." And that was it. That was the moment I realized I did not owe them anything. Not my time, not my forgiveness, not even a conversation. They had years to be there for me, and they chose not to. So now I was choosing to live my life without them. And for the first time, I felt okay with it.